Thank you, Ann. And I thank everybody for taking the time to attend our SDK webinar. The SDK, or our .NET Business Objects, are the foundation to everything we do. And they should be important to everybody, whether you code directly to them or you use them transparently through our applications. So to us, architecture management is important, and it matters. This is our technology stack, and at the bottom is the Macola database, Macola schema. On top of that, we have our developer SDK, or our Macola API. So years ago, about 11 years ago, when we started the company, we immediately recognized that if we were going to build applications like WMS, that we needed to be able to code through a Macola Business Object library, so we would have real-time updates to the Macola database. And so we've been working on this .NET library for a very long time, and it's gone through many iterations as we've evolved the product from .NET 2 to .NET 4, and it's the foundation. So on top of that, we have the Agility Adaptable Framework. Now, when we originally started building our product, we were building coded applications that used the API. Then about 5 years ago, we decided we wanted to build a rapid application development environment so that we could build out our modules, like our warehouse management, shipping logistics, pallet management, and etc., or even manufacturing systems on top of an open framework architecture that would allow customers, consultants to easily take our existing applications and tailor them to meet any customer's needs and would not have to have programmers. So our development staff pretty much works on just building basically toolset components and object libraries, and then our consultants, support personnel actually build out our applications on top of that. So what do we plan to cover today? Well, we want to talk about the new 4.1 DLLs that replaced the original 3.0 DLLs. And Bryce is going to talk to you about how to convert a Visual Studio project so that you can convert over these new DLLs. Moving forward, we will continue to install the version 3 DLLs, but any new enhancements and improvements will only be done in the 4.1 DLLs. So if you have something built on the 3.0 DLLs, we did not want to be in a position where you did a build update and then your application would cease to function. How long will continue to install the v3.0 DLLs will depend a lot on how we get feedback from our customers on conversions. So we're going to talk about how to convert a Visual Studio project, the fundamentals of how to maximize coding efficiency. Bryce, who is the core developer of our objects, will explain the architecture we're employing and how you can take maximum advantage of that architecture. And he's going to show you a new example .NET code project. In the past, we deployed Excel spreadsheets, which was the COM interface component. Almost nobody's coding COM anymore. Everybody's doing .NET. We saw a need to give more robust code examples through a .NET project. And we're going to give you an overview example of how to link multiple object calls into what we call a composite transaction. It's really, to us, the ability to create composite transactions out of our objects that really creates the true power of the system. And then we're going to show you a Design Studio example. The Randy is an example for rapid application development. That's our tool set that sits on top of our .NET DLL objects. So he's going to explain what is Design Studio and Agility Explorer. how to take advantage of applications that you already have, because even though you have the SDK, we actually install with the SDK for everybody Design Studio and the Explorer with a single seat license to the Explorer. So everybody can launch the Explorer, but you have to have a special license then to access Design Studio. And then how to code some applications in Visual Studio. So Bryce is going to show you how to do a composite transaction using the objects, and then Randy's going to show you how to do the same application using Visual Studio and show you how simple it is to do something like that. So let me talk about the SDK and where it's been and where it's going. In the past, we've pretty much focused only on distribution and manufacturing. As we go forward, we've only supported the Macola ES database and the Progression SQL database, and now we support Macola EM10. So if you migrate from Progression to ES to EM10, the way we've built our objects is that they're what I call version agnostic to Macola. So they're totally normalized in terms of the parameters and how you call them, and you just merely point them at the appropriate database and they make the appropriate changes. And it doesn't matter whether you're average cost, standard cost, last cost, bin or lotted, the objects support all those layers and capability. So some of the things that are coming down the road, and IM bill of material, we support most of the inventory tables in different ways for create and updates, but what Bryce refers to as CRUD, or create, update, delete, full support of all properties of all tables and through all of inventory. There are some things we want to clean up there, so that's going to be one of our key focuses this year, is to finish that. And OE, we want to add RMA, probably OE cache. PO has order create, but it's not as versatile as OE, which we've built OE in a way that you could build a full order entry environment. We want to do the same thing for PO this year. And one of the things we've added about 2 years ago was advanced package and shipping. Some of you are aware of that, some of you are using that in the products that we build. But Macola has an inventory, a location, a bin, and a lot layer. Those are what I call inventory layers. So we've added is a packaging layer. So things like stock pallets or stacked pallets or totes or whatever you want to call your packaging layer, we can package up inventory and manage that and a whole new set of object components and database schemas that sit on top of the Macola inventory. And through that, we can package inventory, we can cycle count inventory that's packaged, we can build and ship pallets, stock pallets, so we can buy and make pallets out of manufacturing. We've added shipping, including small package shipping, fully integrated UPS, FedEx, USPS. That's all built into the APS object library. And we have fully integrated EDI to databases that's transparently done through the APS system. And now we're going to expand a little bit beyond distribution. We do today in accounts receivable support both Progression customer create and Macola ES EM10 customer create, but we want to make that much more robust for ES. For the Succinct CNTP and address table, which is the CRM component of Macola ES and Synergy and EM10. So we're going to be investing in making that a very robust set of objects. And we actually have moved into accounts payable. This last build that was just released, we support Macola ES vouchering. And we'll be releasing some applications and Agility Explorer that will be standard components that allow you to take receivers and group them and work from the receiver side back through into the vouchering side and manage that against your invoicing, which we think will be a much more efficient way to finish out the PO process through vouchering. So when we think about our objects, we talk about them in terms of being scalable, concurrent, feature-rich, and reliable. So what does that mean? Well, scalable means they need to be very fast. When we thought about our objects, we thought that they need to be equal to an ERP performance level. And in fact, if you, when people actually install our product and start using our objects or specifically using our WMS, the transaction volume goes up considerably, maybe 4 times, because where you may take a receiver or a few receivers and group them and then enter them in a Macola screen as a group, we will shoot them and manage them at a much more granular level. So we may be doing 4 receivers to 1 or multiple shipments to 1. So the transaction volume goes up. And we have people that are managing transactions at the level of 250,000 order lines per month or 250,000 PO creates and reports a month. And you add to that our entire customer base, and we're talking millions and millions of transactions a month. But what we need to be concurrent, which means transaction controls rollback, and we need to support Macola locking. And people do see where a Macola lock can affect our concurrency, and we'll throw up a locking message. Or if you're doing a lot of transactions, you could get a lock in the Macola system. But that's the way Macola is built, and that's how transactions don't collide with each other, and you don't do 2 updates to an inventory quantity on hand where that needs to be updated concurrently and not additionally. And so it needs to be feature-rich, and we support most of the Macola features. We continue to develop new objects, as I talked about before, but we also get calls for missing features. So we try to be very robust in our feature development, but people continue to, Macola is a very feature-rich product, and people find features in our existing objects, and we put that into our development task list and continue to release those as improvements. And I talked about composite transactions, which we're going to talk about more later and give you an example. And we do still support .NET and VBA-COM. And they need to be reliable. We have over 300 automated tests we run prior to each build release. And pretty much, I can say that even with as many object calls as we have, it's rare that we create bugs in the objects. What I call that is regression. When you have something that works before and then we try to fix something else and then we break what works before, that's called regression. Automated tests try to make sure that we minimize regression. We have very little regression. If we find regression on a build, we'll hot patch it. But a broken object to us is something we take very seriously because it can create a lot of transactional data that can be hard to clean up, and we rarely have to do that. So what's a composite transaction? If you think about, if you understand what POP is, production or processing, if you were to create an order, release a POP order, and produce a POP order in Macola, you would have to do that in multiple screens. And some people do that. They want to report production after the fact. They don't want to create POP orders. They want to just report everything, create the POP, produce the POP, close the POP order all at one time. So if we were to put those together and string those together as one transaction, as our objects are structured to do, and if something fails, roll that back, that now comes one new business process. And so now we've taken an existing set of Macola transactions, we've strung them together, and now we've created a whole new Macola transaction that didn't exist before. And the last thing I want to talk about is what we call purpose-built solutions. The reason we have the adaptable framework, the tool sets that allow us to rapidly develop applications, is because we think that every customer needs to have unique applications. If you're attending this conference, whether you're using our applications on top of our framework or you're coding directly to our objects, you already believe in the concept that you need to be able to control the Macola, your Macola business and your Macola processes in your own unique way. And this is something that is really part of our philosophy, is that every customer should be able to make Macola work the way they want to work and not have to work the way Macola is structured. And with that, I'm going to turn this presentation over to Bryce Lester. And Bryce has been with us for quite a few years. He's responsible for all the object development, and he's also responsible for the Macola or the Agility Mobile or Pocket ES development as well.